Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Town Hall. I'd like to call the meeting to order and first start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Town Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albrecht.
Here.
Councilman Mazzella. Here. Councilman O'Hanlon.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Supervisor Delvecchio.
Here.
Town Attorney Emily Swenson.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. We have amendments to it. So we have two items for special consideration, and I'd like to just change the order of our presentations from put 10D where 10C is and 10C where 10D is, if that's okay.
So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda and swap 10C and 10D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Receipt and acceptance of minutes, 8A, regular town board meeting of May 15th, 23.
I'll make a motion we adopt or
Second.
accept.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all official correspondence are on file at the town clerk's office. So before we do anything, it has supervisor announcements. Real simple little announcement I'm going to call to the stand real quickly. A young man named Simba. He's just going to tell you a few things that are coming up that he's been working on, and Simba, it's all yours. Press the button.
Thank you very much, John. I would like to thank you for this opportunity. My name is Simba Chipanda. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I'd like to speak just a little bit about Youth for Life Zimbabwe. This is a community-based organization which is based in Zimbabwe. So on the 8th of June, I'll be speaking briefly about the work that we are doing, like how we are assisting the vulnerable young people with school fees assistance and the like. So if you are welcome, you're all welcome to participate and attend the event. You can kindly register at the Pleasant Valley Library. The contact person is Linda Hanlon. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and good luck. This time, I'd like to turn the microphone over to our town clerk for the Howe Park dedication. And you're going to stay at the microphone, right? And I urge you all to stay for the next presentation as well. That's why we made the switch.
Good evening, everyone. What a great showing tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight to celebrate the kindness and generosity of the Howe family. We would like to welcome Donnie's wife, Phyllis, and recognize their children, Melinda, Jody, and Mark, along with their pride and joy, their grandchildren. We would also like to acknowledge and welcome Donnie's sisters, Jean and Margaret, along with Donnie's brothers and sisters from the fire department, which was a big part of his life, along with his closest friends. The love this community has for the Howe family is very present tonight. I had the honor and privilege of interviewing Donnie Howe a few months ago in regards to some family history. For all of you who know Donnie, he could be very funny, a wisecracker, and as someone once said, beneath the scraggly hair and dusty exterior, there was a heart of gold. I started off asking him to tell me about his grandparents, Alexander Alex Howe and his grandmother, Adelaide. Donnie proceeded to tell me about his grandfather first. He told me Grandpa was a big, tall man and had a very funny, dry sense of humor, along with having a generous heart. Grandpa Alex sold real estate for E.I. Hatfield and was the longtime caretaker for the Presbyterian Church. Donnie stated he was a hardworking farmer who worked the cornfields at Traver Farm. Grandpa Alec believed in loyalty, and if he shook your hand, it meant something. He liked to socialize with his friends and share a beer or two. Donnie quoted, "The best beers are the ones we drink with friends." Now Donnie proceeded to tell me about his grandmother, Adelaide. He told me Grandma was born in Millbrook as Adelaide Briggs. Her brother Anthony was the original founder of Reardon Briggs. He remembered as a child she was very kind and a wonderful baker. Grandma was involved in ladies' clubs and was an active member of the Presbyterian Church. With a smile on his face, Donnie then proceeded to tell me about his grandfather, Alexander Alex Howe Passion. Alexander owned a gravel bank. He sold gravel to the locals for their needs for many years. As this gravel bank started to deplete and went as far as it could, Grandpa knew there was no other use for the land, so he had an idea. He wanted to donate part of the land for recreation. In 1958, Grandpa, along with his friends, Highway Superintendent Roger Hall and Town Supervisor Cecil Chereau, started a conversation about what to do with this property Grandpa wanted to donate to the town. Donnie stated Grandpa always had a passion for recreation, and what better way to do it? Grandpa's vision was to divert the Wappingers Creek and turn this property into a swimming hole and make the remaining land a park for all residents to use and enjoy. Donnie stated the swimming hole portion of the deal did not work out, but he told me Grandpa had strong provisions in his agreement that this property would be for recreation use only and any other use would be prohibited. So this is now what we know as Field 2. As we express our gratitude to the Howe family, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them, and that is exactly what Alexander Alex Howe did. I could tell Donnie enjoyed talking about his grandparents and the pride he had for his family's connection to this community. It is with a heavy heart he is not with us tonight, but I know he is smiling down on all of us, cheering. Now let's all give a big round of applause to the Howe family as we say, welcome to Howe Park. Supervisor Del Vecchio will now read a proclamation that I have prepared.
Proclamation in honor of the Howe family. Whereas the town of Pleasant Valley recognizes the valuable contributions from Alexander Alex Howe and family to our community and recreation. And whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of the town of Pleasant Valley. And whereas Alexander Alex Howe had a vision and passion for recreation which evolved into what we now know as Field 2. And whereas it is important to honor those who give their time, talent, and resources for the betterment of their community. And whereas the town of Pleasant Valley wishes to extend our sincere appreciation to the Howe family for being examples of we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And whereas, and now therefore it be resolved, the town board and the town clerk for the town of Pleasant Valley do hereby proclaim Field 2 to now be known as Howe Park and encourage all residents of our town to join in this recognition on this day, 5th of June, 2023. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for the Howe family. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. I urge you all to please remain for this next presentation, which I think you'll find very interesting.
Again, good evening, everyone. His name is William A. Fox, and his rank was First Lieutenant. His unit was Company K, 120th Infantry Division, 30th Infantry status, wounded in action. William A. Fox was one of the 136 local veterans of World War I who was awarded his Purple Heart at a special ceremony that took place on the 28th of May, 1932. The Temple Hill Day program was held on the grounds of what is now the home of the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor at New Windsor, Cantonment. First Lieutenant Fox was severely wounded in action on September 29, 1918. He was born on the 31st of January, 1895, and passed away on the 1st of October, 1959, at the age of 64. With honor, he lies in rest in our Pleasant Valley Cemetery, Section 12, single grave, number 51. So people ask, what does the Purple Heart mean? The Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration still in present use and initially created by George Washington in 1782 as the badge of military merit. The Purple Heart was the first American Service Award made available to the common soldier and is awarded to any members of the armed forces of the United States who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy, and posthumously to the next of kin in the name of those who are killed in action or die of wounds received in action. The heritage it represents is sacred to those who understand the price paid to wear it. The mission of the Military Order of the Purple Heart is to support combat wounded veterans and works to ensure Americans never forget the sacrifices, bravery, and courage made by the United States military personnel. So how did this idea come about? In June of 2022, while traveling up to Eastham, Massachusetts on Cape Cod for the sudden passing of my brother-in-law, Matthew, my husband Larry and I entered the town he lives in, and I noticed a small sign in front of his town hall, which said, "This is a Purple Heart town." I was really curious what it meant, and so I began my homework and researched the meaning of a Purple Heart town. The more I researched, the more the project intrigued me. I thought, what a wonderful way to honor our hometown Purple Heart recipients with recognition for their valor, heart, fearlessness, and guts. I brought this idea to my Hometown Heroes Banner Committee members, Jeff, Tony, and Lisa. And with their never-ending support of our military, they loved the idea and could not wait to bring this to our town. As planning began, the committee heard about the Dutchess County Veterans Microgrants. These microgrants offer one-time grants to local nonprofit veteran organizations and municipalities to enhance activities and programming that address veterans' needs or recognize their service. We thought, what a great opportunity to apply and use these grant funds to formally recognize Purple Heart recipients in our town by establishing posted signage at the main entry roads, add purple lighting to the mill site, post Purple Heart flags at two ends of the mill site and town hall, along with a bronze plaque, along with a written proclamation stating Pleasant Valley is now known as a Purple Heart town. We will also mail postcards to residents for the notification of the honor event. I, along with the committee, are very happy to say we received a $15,000 grant for our town. Along with the planning of the dedication ceremony, the committee is looking into naming key sites in town after our Purple Heart recipients. As an example, the bridge on Main Street may be called John Doe's Memorial Bridge. The trails at Bower Park can be called Jane Doe's Memorial Trail. Please stay tuned for more details on this. Special thanks goes out to Dutchess County Executive William O'Neill, Director of Dutchess County Division of Veteran Services Adam Roach, and our Dutchess County legislators for believing in us. Purple Heart Day is observed on August 7th each year. Please remember the value of the Purple Heart. It is immeasurable. A person awarded with a Purple Heart is a true American hero. These heroes who have served and who have sacrificed should never be forgotten. Thank you for your time.
Okay. You guys know me. I never not have a chance to talk. So just real quick, Mary Beth has worked long and hard on this. Her and Tony have really taken the lead on this, and it's fabulous. It's going to bring our town national attention, which is great and well deserved. Just real quick, if I could, the Hometown Hero banner committees, we're still working hard. We're applying for over 200 more polls for the banners, and we couldn't do this without the support of the town board. Thank you, everybody. We really, really appreciate all your support, and I can't thank enough the fire department who pitches in and helps with the hanging of banners and everything. Thank you very much.
Just a quick note, we received a new banner application, and it's a double Purple Heart recipient. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Okay. So we have a gentleman here that I had the honor and privilege of meeting at the Association of Towns in Manhattan. And I attended, myself and Councilman Reifenberg attended the convention and hopes to learn some things that benefit the town. And this is one of the things that I thought was pretty beneficial to us. So I'm stalling, I'm talking this way, it doesn't sound like, so by all means, and if you feel like leaving at this time, that's okay too. Wouldn't be the first time I emptied a room. By all means, thank you very much. Michael, why don't you wait till the last of the house? Yeah, okay. So we have with us tonight Steve from COFILE. It's COFILE, right? Preservation of Historical Records. And he's got a little presentation for us to show us some of the things that we may need.
Well, thank you, John, and good evening, everyone, and thanks for inviting me to your meeting. It's my pleasure to be here and tell you a little bit about what COFILE does, who we are, and how we can help with the historical documents for Pleasant Valley. My name is... Sure, sorry. My name is Steve Poley, and I'm with COFILE Services. I'm based here in New York, and so it's my pleasure to be here. After having lived in California for 20 years, I'm really excited to be home. So thanks for welcoming me to your meeting. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about COFILE, what we can do, I'll take you through our agenda here. Who is CoFile? Why is preservation so important? Why should we preserve these documents, deeds, vital records, maps? It's a beautiful map on the back of the wall there, if anyone, I'm sure you've noticed. But also, what goes into doing that? There's a lot of different steps in science of actually restoring and preserving documents that go back hundreds of years. We have a few different binding options of how we can protect and preserve the documents going forward. And then we actually did an assessment here a couple of weeks back, and we went through your collection. Mary Beth was nice enough to let us take a look in the vault, and we can show you a little bit about what we found and what we can do for you. So with that, I'll take us through what we have here. So who is CoFile? Well, we preserve history, we restore documents, we meet records legal requirements. So counties, cities, towns obviously are required to keep hard copies of these records, not only for the present generation, but for future generations and the town's legacy. It really is the DNA of the community, we like to call it. So all the vital records, the marriage records, births, the deaths, the deeds, all of which are preserved and obviously go back hundreds of years. So there's a lot of science that goes behind that, as you can well imagine, and in terms of various glues that are involved, and inks and paper and what goes through that process. I won't bore you with that. I know the lights are off, but it really is fascinating stuff. And our laboratory is actually based in Vermont, so it's not too far from here. But we are a national company, and this is something that we've been doing for quite some time, in upwards of 50 years. The Co in CoFile actually is a division of Kodak. If you remember film from years ago, when you used to go to the Photomat. Anybody remember those? But there's lots of different kinds of technologies and companies that we're an amalgam of different companies together to take you through this process. So with that, I'll get right into it here. Why is preservation important? And it's really having that original document. I know I have my own birth certificate. I know it's from quite a few years back, more than I want to admit, but there's something about that original document. I mean, apart from the legality of having to have a copy of that record, digital records are, as we all know, we don't know how they're going to survive. We don't know what new technologies are coming. I don't even want to hear about the AI thing that's going on. It's all those old science fiction movies I used to watch seem to be coming true. But having the actual piece of paper, the document, is really tells the story and what it comes to life from that. And I'm going to show you a good example of that, especially with some of the dedications tonight, which were so moving, I have to say. Are military discharge records and the importance of those. In some cases, they may even be the only record of an individual, as we know so many boys so young. Iwo Jima is an example. This was a record that we actually restored from one of the flag bearers from Iwo Jima. It's just fascinating. It makes you pause. I know that in our lab in Texas, I think I was telling you this, John, I've seen maps from World War II and all the way up to celebrity birth records. But all of these documents all tell a story. And so you can see that just preserving them, a lot of love went into that and making sure that these people aren't forgotten. So it's for historical preservation. It's obviously the responsibility of maintaining those records and documenting them for future generations. There is, the legality of it, and, especially with deeds, mortgages, court records, all need to be stored and maintained and be referred to. And then, there's civic pride. I come across cities and towns that display various records as you actually enter, the town hall and the building. And I know John has the map up there, and I see that everywhere I go. And as I mentioned, it really truly is the DNA of your community. So I won't go into too much detail about the real exciting treatments that are done to paper, but there is a deacidification process. Paper has a pH balance, and there's all kinds of methods and sprays and delicate processes that need to take place to bring the paper back up to its pH balance to survive going forward. In some cases, you pick up paper and it's hundreds of years old, and it's sort of potato chips. I mean, you literally crunches right in your hand. And I'm going to get to those in a minute. But there's mending, and there's the polyester mylar that we can actually preserve these papers in, as well as beautiful archival binders. But our lab in Vermont and our main facility in Texas and around the country, like I said, we are experts at this process, in addition to the digitization and indexing of all of this information. So as you can imagine, tape removal is a big part of it. In your collection, there was some tape, obviously different glues and inks, and we have to be very mindful of that, because removing them can obviously disturb or in some cases destroy. We may want to leave that information alone, but it's really a judgment call that our conservators make, as they're going through, the various documents. So this is, I'm going to turn this around here. These are your records. You've got these small booklets that actually go back to 1884. And these are actual death records. Each page is actually a record, a report for vital statistics. And it's really quite fascinating when you start looking at these, but as you can see, they are very delicate, and they are starting to come apart. They are stapled, and you have several of these, along with some of these books also that go back to, I want to say the 1800s, Mary Beth. And, just if you can see a little bit here, a lot of these pages the ink is starting to fade and starting to run, and obviously the binding is coming apart. And, we come across this all the time, all across the country. You have some other books there as well, but from the pictures alone, you can see that there was some fire damage on the bottom left. To the left on the top are some of the more vital records that you have. And you can see in most cases the binding is coming apart, the paper is fraying. And while I will say that I have seen books in worse shape than that, we're still, I think, at the perfect time to get started to preserve them. If we catch them now, we're at a point where we can preserve them going forward. So what we do is we have two kinds of binders. We have a heritage binder and we have a disaster-proof binder. And the heritage binders that you can see are laid out. They're very easy to access. Every single page after it has been restored is in Mylar. It's a proprietary type of Mylar that we use, so you have easy access to it, and it's easily legible, and you can make copies, and you can handle it without any harm coming to it. There is also a disaster-proof binder, and that actually is fireproof and also has a gasket around it for water damage. I know that John was telling me at some point there may have been, you guys came close to some water, but luckily everything was rescued. And but you hear that a lot. It's a very common thing where the storage of files are in danger of either flooding, or obviously we had Sandy a few years back. But you can see the shape that these are not your records, these are other records, but you see that's sort of the next step. That's kind of where they're heading. And we want to get them into these books so we can start preserving them, and you can feel good about that you're not going to have that potato chip scenario, and you're not going to lose documentation. And, you know, the one person that wants to get a record from great-great-great-grandparents or what have you, and it's just gone. It breaks my heart. I've heard that word. It's the worst. Those records are gone, and I've heard that. So what we've done here is we put together a page count along with a level of service of preservation and what some of the costs associated with that would be. Obviously, my eyes go to the biggest number, which is sort of on the bottom there, and at the 103 number. And that's because the minute books make up 80%, I would say, of the collection that we reviewed. And we reviewed it up to 1990, because post-1990, paper actually went through a big change, and it's not quite as in danger as the paper that was milled prior to that. So we really, when John and I first started talking, we were like, hey, let's look at the oldest stuff first. Let's try and get a plan going for that. And so what we were thinking was, well, if we take a look at everything up to the minute books, it's really about a fourth of that number, you know, in the 25 to 30K range, I would say. And what we do with a lot of towns is we start a maintenance plan where we get the oldest books first, and we get those going, and we take those, and we return them as we do them. And then going forward every year, you can set up a maintenance plan and, you know, kind of have that as a line item or whatever. But there are a lot of different options. We do work, I think I'd mentioned Bedford, the town of Bedford. We do their tax record books, actually, and they do a certain amount every year, along with Dutchess County as well. So we've done some work, and I would invite you to, talk to your constituents or whoever to see what we've done there. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what some of the costs are associated around that, and how we can, break that up to make it more palatable, going forward. And we can certainly work with you on, how you want to do that. So with that, these are some of the success stories that we've had in other counties around the country. Taking, as you can see in the bottom right there, what some records look like, and then we put them in those binders that I had talked about, and with your town seal, along with the clerk, supervisor, and going forward, really having that, for your constituents and for the community to have access to those records in these binders, and knowing that they're safe. So with that, I hope that was informative, and happy to answer any questions that you might have at this point about CoFile. And sir, yes.
How much does it cost to preserve documents?
Well, the costs that I had listed up there were for preservation. So it was for the rest. No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm sorry. I hope you could hear me. I'm in and out of the microphone here as I'm turning.
Okay.
But yeah. So, and I can provide, that information.
All right. No, I just wanted to know what was the cost.
Yeah, they were.
And do you determine what documents are worth saving? Because I would assume not all documents are worth.
And you would assume, right, that they really all are. I know that there are some court records that aren't necessarily needed to be maintained, but in most cases, it has to go back, I think, legally so many years. But the vital records all would typically be maintained. Obviously, deeds, land records, extremely important.
That's basically what I was going to ask. What is the legal requirements set forth by New York State or anything requiring health? What are we legally obligated to maintain for records with deeds, birth certificates, death certificates? What is a legal obligation and what is a want as opposed to what is required?
All right. So, Mary Beth, you can answer anything that she's been basically holding on to and keeping as much as possible. But pretty much everything that happens here has to be kept. Go ahead.
And this is preserving our history.
Right. So while some
can
court
see
records,
these.
after X amount of time, are pretty much thrown away because they have to hold it for a certain amount of time until the court can never, the case can never be brought up again. Those can go away, they don't have to be done, but pretty much minutes of your town, pretty much everything about the town, when you come in for a marriage license, when you come in with a deed, and all those things, it is, like he says, the DNA of the town, and it has to be kept forever.
I was just wanting to know
Yeah.
the want as opposed to required, because when I see, what was it, 130,000?
103. Well, what, maybe it was 130, I don't, I'm
Large
looking at
amount of money,
backwards.
and then I think about what we need here in Pleasant Valley, so I'm just asking as want and required, two
Right.
different things. And where do we find this information as a public person here? Where do I find it legally telling me that we need to keep all this? Is there a place that we, as the public, can go look for this, the requirement?
Everything that we have, you can always FOIL, is what they call
Okay.
FOIL from, at Town Hall, and you can always look it up and get whatever, any kind of information at all.
I was thinking more of like legislative, New York State requirement, national requirement. I'm looking more for that. Where would a person go to find that the town is legally required to preserve the minutes back from 1900? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a law. We have to keep it. We know we have to keep it. We just don't, you know.
Okay, I'm just asking, just.
Yeah.
Just thought maybe, 1, 2, 3, you guys have the answer, 'cause it is a large amount, and understandably, we have other concerns.
Sure.
And I do definitely agree that there are some things that we need to keep.
So in other words, what it comes down to is this is going to be somehow, some way put into the town's budget. Am I correct? Am I thinking?
Not
We haven't
necessarily.
really decided as to which way we can pay for this, if we're gonna pay for it, that way, or if maybe there's monies that we have that might be available. Don't know. This right now is a presentation so that we can make a decision how we go
As to
forward.
whether you want to do it or not do it?
Correct.
So then, does it go before the town if you decide to do it, or is this,
Probably depending on the amount, for
Depends on
instance.
where the money comes from.
Right. If we have to take it from a particular line or something like that, and it's a big amount, if we say, let's say we go for the whole kabang,
Right.
you know, that's something that we would have to put out to the people. But I think at this point, we're not really discussing that, more so the needs of the stuff that's in the worst shape, and start there, and then go
start small and
period.
work your
Right,
way up?
right.
Yes.
So that, where does that money come from if you start small? Does it come from somewhere in the budget, or?
So we'd have to look where we'd find it, but yes, we'll let you know where we would get it from.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I have no problem with you preserving it. I think it should be done,
Right.
but
Johnny? And from what I understand, it doesn't have to be done all at
Right,
once.
it does
can
not
be
have
done
to be
over
done
a
to-
year's
yeah.
span. It can be done
that's
right.
small
We could
amount,
take-
small amount,
We
small
could
amount.
take
Absolutely.
piece by
Right.
piece.
Yep.
Right.
And most of the time, that's what towns do.
Yeah.
And they either put it in a budget, or they look at other possible fundings, or grants even. And typically, they want to look at the oldest records first, the ones that are the most in danger of collapsing and just not being legible or used any longer. And you can see that you do have some that are hundreds of years old.
And just really quick, this is the first time any of us are actually seeing this. So this hasn't been something that's been going on for
Right.
months where we're about to do something. This was just a presentation to propose that we have this option. So if we decided as a board that we might want to do something like this, then obviously we would have to
Talk.
look at the budget and figure all that stuff out. But this is like the first step of
Right.
potentially many, so.
We have a question in the back?
Yes. What you guys have is gold as far as like the death certificates and birth certificates. I do genealogy, and I've run into roadblocks with some towns. The records were destroyed, blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking to help recover the cost, if I want to get a death certificate, marriage certificate, or birth certificate from New York State, I got it sent for, and it cost me $30. So if people come to you looking for death certificates, and I would charge them a fee, you know, whatever it would be to
Okay,
get
so
a copy, and just to help with the cost.
it's a nice
Why not,
idea.
right? You know, because we're going to be paying for it.
Mhm.
Get stuff out of Albany, why not?
It's a nice idea. We're really not here tonight to figure out how we're going to pay for things or discuss the plans of it, how we're going to go forth with it. It's just really an introduction as to a need that is identified, and this is a company that may actually help us with that need. Yes, ma'am, you in the back. What's your name? Please stand up and where do you live? And
As far as this project goes, I think it's an incredibly invaluable source. After all, we were just given a wonderful designation. Our history is our foundation. Going back to the very beginning, I think that this is a fabulous idea. Yeah, it's expensive, but we can start small and work our way through. And I'm sure that somewhere along the line we'll be able to find the money. But every one of those items on there are incredibly valuable to somebody. The minutes, birth and death certificates, marriage licenses. I don't know if we have military records here. All of that stuff is incredibly valuable, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Steve, by any way? I know we're,
It's my understanding that birth, marriage, and death certificates are maintained in Albany. So is this a duplication of what they do also?
no,
I don't think so.
Sorry, they don't have this from the 1800s,
no.
you know.
So would this stop?
This is
at
more of a
point
historical.
The state maintains all the records?
I don't know how far back it goes, but these ones here, they don't have it that far back.
Okay.
These are literally death certificates that say who got hit by a train, who got killed on a farm tractor. It's a very interesting piece of Pleasant Valley history. Yeah.
I think from one, and I'm not sure the year, but going forward from that 1 year, everything is digitized and/or duplicated. I know in New York City, I believe from 1966, they've completed, but there are hundreds of years prior to that. I've seen Dutch records that, you know, obviously say New Amsterdam. I mean, they go back so far. Just like Mary Beth was describing, which is really the precious history of your town that they would not have access to.
Well, that goes to my next question. Wouldn't it be cheaper to just digitalize it?
And you know, it's not an apples and apples thing. Just a straight digitization is just copying, right? And we all know when you copy something, you get what you get. And you can see from just looking at these records, for example, and I know it's kind of far away, and it's the old penmanship that was probably used with a quill and ink. And before this gets digitized or copied, there's a lot of work that goes into restoring it first. And that's really what's important. You can have these copied, but then if you can't read them, or if the whole page isn't legible, then it's not really useful. And a lot of companies will just do that.
Right. No, I'm just saying, like, if it's not just making a copy or scanning it, maybe,
Sure.
you know, the ones that are still somewhat legible that you
Yes.
can make out your own, make out yourself, could you just type it in?
Sure, and that's another step of digitization, and we talked about that also. We really felt that the urgent need was to preserve the ones that are in danger, and that's really was that first half of that sort of those costs that you saw were really to preserve these books here that are on the table that are 100-plus years old, and then you can digitize them, but then again, digital records are more vulnerable in a sense because of technology and not knowing where technology is going to go. Towns, counties are also vulnerable to virus attacks. I know in Suffolk County, they had a ransomware attack, and I mean, it's terrible what can happen with that. So you really want to focus on your documents. We made that the sort of the priority going forward. Yes, Gary.
Well, we need it for home, Gary, we need it for people at home. They can't hear you without the microphone. That's why we do this. Well, she can't.
Hello? Oh,
There you go.
Yeah.
there we go. Hello, home. The records that I scanned that you listed up there with prices, they're mainly all town clerk records?
Mostly, yes. They typically fall under the town clerk. The deeds and tax records, minutes, a lot of minutes.
Yeah, okay. But it doesn't get into the other records in the other departments here too much?
Not so much. I mean, there are some court records, but I mean, that's typically what you have.
Yeah.
Our vitals, tax records, deeds. You do have some maps, but that's predominantly what we see.
Okay.
Majority of the stuff that is told of our story, if you will, resides in the town clerk's office.
Yeah, through about a half a century of being around here too long, our town clerks have been very good at keeping records. They can't preserve them, understand that.
Yes.
But we have been very fortunate through the years. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll discuss this and go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, that brings us to ARPA Funds Committee update.
Give me a second to, there we go. So before I start, I really want to say a big thank you to Councilwoman Albrecht. She really did a lot of the deep diving in some of the projects that we want to talk about, that we're going to talk about again at subsequent meetings and meetings after that and whatnot. So, but the ARPA funds. So what is ARPA? ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act from 2021, also commonly known as COVID-19 stimulus or the American Rescue Plan. It was voted on in March by Congress, signed by the President, and it was really meant to kind of curb the effects of long-term COVID in the sense of giving towns some much-needed revenue that they were supposedly going to lose. So, will our town lose ARPA money? We've heard this time and time and time again here on social media and everywhere else. So just to give you the brass tacks of where we are, the town has until December 31st of 2024 to declare what funds are going to be used for, right? So, and then we have till 2026 to complete that project and spend the money officially. So, we already have the money in the bank. It's not like we were waiting for checks. We're not waiting for the government to give us something. because if we were waiting, we wouldn't get it at this point. Any unobligated ARPA funds are basically funds that the government hasn't designated to a town, to a municipality. Any extra money in that plan, they're not giving out anymore. So we got our $993,330.34. We've accrued $25,000 in interest so far to date. So we have that in the bank. So now really the question is, what do we spend it on, right? We had an open forum, if you will, last meeting to hear some ideas from some residents. We also have some projects going on that we know that we are working on that might be a good qualification for this. So what we're going to talk about tonight is just some quick 5 items that I think we can get the ball rolling on. Some of the things that we've actually done some legwork on, some of the things we'll actually need Emily to do some RFPs for us for. ARPA recommendations, right? So we've talked about the IT needs of the town and the $87,000 we need to get in compliant by the end of the year for our IT needs. I think Mary and I talked, and we thought that was a fantastic use of the money, as well as the LED street light upgrades. So if we update, we have a lighting district, we all pay for it in our taxes. We're proposing that we use it's really $22,000 and change. We got a real price from Central Hudson. The payback, though, to us on this is it's about $5,000 annual in savings on the lighting district. So by spending the ARPA money on the $23,000, we'll actually save $5,000 a year. If you have kids that use the parks in this town, you'll know that the school has the best playgrounds, and we as a town do not have the greatest playgrounds. The playground at Helen Aldridge, we can't get parts for it anymore. We were kind of making pieces for it. So we're proposing that all 3 parks get playground equipment upgrades. Bauer would get a small addition to what's there, as well as Katy and Helen Aldridge would both get brand new equipment. And then there's been talk of a dog park and a new basketball court, because the only basketball court we have in this town is up in Helen Aldridge. And then future recommendations. So if you look at this, we have just a little over $1 million. This is just over $500,000. The federal government, we're allowed to spend $750,000 annually without having to deal with extra audits and a lot of hoops to jump through. So the recommendation from us is we can get going on this list now, spend it this year, and then we have money left over that we can then do in 3 months. We can recommend next round of spending for the beginning of the next year, and then later on that year. And then future recommendations are the pavilion at Katy Field. We heard that needs some revamping. The mill site needs an overhaul. There's town water and there's town hall, and there's the list keeps going on and on and on. So, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, it's just that this is a list of those
Yeah.
things that you were
Oh, yeah.
talking about.
And our bookkeeper did give us a list of municipalities, or a list of government organizations, I should say, that are actually not getting their ARPA funds just because of for one reason or another. But the current guidance suggests, and everything that we can read and everything that we can get our hands on, no one's losing it. No one's going to have to pay it back. They're giving you this really broad spectrum of how to use it, because we're well under the cap there. So we really have a really broad spectrum. So all of these qualify. And like I said, so we have some prices. The next subsequent meetings, we're going to do this in the right fashion. We'll add them to the agenda. We'll talk about them. We'll have resolutions to spend the money, let people talk about them. But just, we're listening, but we also came up with some ideas too that will actually save us money in the long term. So, and I would ask for anyone's questions, but we're literally going to open the meeting to public comment next. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. All right, so I make a motion that we open the meeting to the public
Second?
for agenda items only. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
This is for agenda items only at this point.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jean Curley. I'm on Stream Lane. One thing, it's not on the agenda. but the Pleasant Valley Community Garden is mentioned, and we have insurance. You got a certificate today. What else I would like to talk about is, funny, I'm following Frank. We have a fantastic recreation director. She works her tail off for recreation. She is not a parks director. And we are talking about all these wonderful things that we want to do, the town wants, for parks. The parks are growing, Pleasant Valley is growing. We need a parks director. We don't have one. Sandy Coe we have a MIG grant for bathrooms that's not being worked on. We have Rattle Park that needs to be and wants to be developed, and it's not being. And people are saying, Jean, what happened to that? Why? What happened? Why has it been 30 years or 20 years, whatever? Howe Field, we now just dedicated Howe Field. We were going to get a community garden on Field 2. Nope, that didn't happen because somebody else wants it, but it's not being used. Bower Park is just getting a new piece of land. We got to have it looked at, assessed, or whatever. We have a lot to do. We have vandalism at the mill site. We need maintenance. We have 3 people, one that works for recreation, and 2.5 people that work, two. I didn't know whether we had a part-timer, that do the maintenance. And it's not possible. We need a park director. And that should be in the budget for next year. We can't do this, and we can't put it on Sandy Coe. She does recreation and a fantastic job, but she's not a contractor. She's not an engineer. We need a director, parks director.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sue Bellevue, 103 Wixton Road. So I thank you, Frank, for talking about the ARPA funds and some of the recommendations that the board had. As much as I appreciate all your hard work, I am a little bit concerned that water is not the top priority. I do recognize that you said the LED lights, that we would get $5,000 back in savings, and that's what we need to do for the town of Pleasant Valley. We need to look at how we can get business here, how we can save money. So we have the ARPA funds, and every board meeting that I've been to so far, water has come up. I don't understand why that's not the #1 priority to get water to Pleasant Valley. We get water here, then we bring businesses. Business will bring money to this place. When we have the money, we can now think about how do we improve every other thing that we need to improve. We definitely need to improve the parks and the recreation and have that equipment. But we have to start on the foundation. Water is the foundation of every business, every town. So we need to focus on getting water here, so everybody here in Pleasant Valley has water. We can get the businesses here, and that's how we get the tax revenue. When I think about, and I have a dog, and I've been a dog owner for many, many years, I think $25,000 on a dog park does not bring water, does not bring money to help our kids, to help our senior citizens, and bring business here. If I had $25,000 and I won the lotto, I would donate $25,000 for the dog park. But when I'm only given a select amount of money from the government, the priority should be what can save the town, what can bring business to the town. The fact that we've had this since 2021, and we're now into 2023, and I've only been coming to this board for the past 4 or 5 months, why haven't we made water the #1 priority? Every time I come here, someone mentions water. And I remember maybe 2-3 months ago, someone said, why isn't the town doing this for us, and we should know. And I think Dr. John DeVecchio mentioned that you hired us. We put you here. So we're trusting you to do the right thing. Whether you're Republican, whether you're Democrat, I really don't care. What I do care is that you do the job that we put here for you, that you get us the water that we need, you make it the priority. We've had 18 months, 2 years with this money, and why don't we have the water? I've been hearing from many people that we've hired companies to come up with a water plan. Why haven't we used them yet? Why haven't we put into action? We spent the money, we got all these things in. Why haven't we instituted a plan? That's my question to the board. I'm hoping that when I come back next month, that we have a plan for the water. I don't think $370,000 on playground equipment is going to bring in businesses to increase our tax revenue. They're not going to bring businesses that are going to fix up the storefronts. They're not. They may keep some of our kids out of trouble, but then again, that comes down to the parents. It's not the town's responsibility 100% of the time to provide all these activities. The town's responsibility is for every member of Pleasant Valley to have water. That's what I wanted to say, and thank you for your time.
Can I respond to that, please?
Yes.
Let's let everybody talk.
Okay.
I thank you very much. for
Thank
that.
you.
No, well, so what I wanted to say was we got our ARPA money in two different, we haven't been sitting on the ARPA money for 18 months, John. Like, right, so I would love to respond, but I was told I'm not allowed to, I guess, so.
You can respond later and show how you spent the money, or where it went to.
Good evening,
Thank you.
Supervisor. Thank you. No question, water's important. Water's important to every community. It's vital. Sandy Washburn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Most of you know who I am, so I apologize.
I know, but you got to say it.
Yes, I appreciate that. Resident of this community, this town, for good night 35 years now, I guess. My kids all played sports, Field 2, back in the day. Donnie Howe worked for me. I am currently Parks and Recreation Director for the town of LaGrange. Proud to be that. A billion years ago, when my kids were, started recreation soccer at 4 years old over at the fields at West Road School. Back in the day when there was a recreation booster club here, and I was president of that, and we had a little camper that we served hot dogs out of, and I know Sandy Coe from a couple of different municipalities ago, and we've been in this recreation game for a long time, and I give her a lot of credit. I've seen amazing changes come to this recreation department in the past year, and I don't know that there are people on this board who are committed to those changes, and it's been a long time coming, and I have spoken to several administrations here who have called me in over the years and just picked my brain for whatever that's worth, and a number of you do still call me, and I'm grateful for whatever amount of information I've been able to give and share with you, and the fact that this community is trying to make strides in recreation is really important to me. I have grandchildren now, 6 of them, handful of them who live right next to Helen Aldrich Park and run their little feet up that hill and play on that playground, and it's important to me what happens in Parks and Rec here and in every community, because keeping our kids off the streets, out of trouble isn't just an inner city thing. Trouble that happens with our children is a rural community thing. It's an every single community thing. So those improvements that need to happen to those playgrounds needed to happen 20 years ago. We don't have the town parks in our town that surrounding communities have. I know this. Residents come to me every single year who live in this town where I live and scream and yell because they want to be able to come to Freedom Lake. They can't get into our camps. They can't get into our programs, and they're frustrated and they're angry. And I'm like, I hear you. Come and talk to our town board. And you guys hear them and you know what I'm talking about. So thank you for what you're trying to do. It absolutely matters. I'm not necessarily a supporter of the dog park idea. You know why. Have some history there, but hey, not anti-dog. Dog park's not my thing. Whatever. But thank you for what you're doing. It is way, way, way past time for the town of Pleasant Valley to put our kids first. Every other town is doing it. Parks and Recreation, keep going, put it first. It's time. Our kids deserve it. My kids didn't get it. My grandkids should have it. Thank you.
Dan Deegan, Oxford Road. Okay, I want to take a deep breath. Everybody's seen the movie Groundhog Day? I've lived here 18 years. Some of you guys, I think, have lived here 200 years. This debate keeps going full circle. I'm going to try to be respectful. Number one, respectful to all the people sitting up here. You're in the arena. You're in the arena, right? You serve, period, you serve. Respect to all the people sitting here. You take the time out. What I'd love to do is turn this to the people on the camera who are watching at home who complain but don't show up. Really what I want to aim this to are the people that say, it's Pleasant Valley, what do you expect? Nothing surprises me anymore, it's Pleasant Valley. But they don't show up. I'm talking to you in the camera, but you're not watching because you're somewhere else. When, though, are we going to put children ahead of everybody else? Now, it's adorable to say that we're going to put water in. This has been debated for how many decades? I wasn't born when this project started. And I think it's funny that people will show up, and now all of a sudden, when they were serving, when they were up in the arena, when they were on the board, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything when we could have done this for pennies on the dollar. Now all of a sudden, they're infrastructure and construction experts. Now they're holding this board accountable. They don't ever offer solutions. They just say, why wouldn't you do it? Why didn't you do it when you were on the board? Why didn't you do it when you used to come? There's also a theme. My kids got it, but now I don't care about other people's kids. I'm advocating for my 3 kids and all the people that are watching that want to complain, that say this town sucks, this town doesn't do anything. I got 3 kids too. There are people in this audience that I guarantee have kids. There are people on the board that have. I don't have time for this either. But you don't have time when you don't show up. I'm here. We need bipartisan people. The party, we say this is partisan. How many Democrats have been on this board? Honestly, over the last couple of years. This is a people issue. This isn't a party issue. We got all this backbiting and trying to even scores, and the kids suffer. The kids suffer. We want to do water? Hell yeah, let's do water. But not before the kids. Because if you think that we're going to bring all these businesses in, I'm for it. I am for water. I'm for tax revenue. I'm for building this town up. But if you think for a second you're going to bring this tax revenue, and then people are going to say, raise my taxes, they're going to want a tax cut. Have you not lived here long enough? This is Pleasant Valley. We have the money now. Everybody talked about this money. It is a one-time windfall. What do you do with a one-time windfall? I don't think you do a $25,000 dog park. but you do things for the kids. You do things for the kids. Anybody who doesn't believe me, okay, so I coach rec, right? I went to culture night the other night at school. I was at the field day. You should pay for admission to go see what this is like. Everybody there, the parents benefited, the adults benefited better than the kids. That is what Pleasant Valley is about, but you get that at parks. You get that at recreation. You get that at sports. It was sports that brought everybody back together. Everybody's friends at field day, everybody's friends at rec, and then they go home and get on social media and hate each other again. But for that 5 minutes, you see them and they get along. That's what parks do. That's what we do for our kids. That is our job. You're serving, you're here. All you people that want to complain and don't do anything, either leave the town or get involved.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Timothy Lopez. I'm a resident of Brookside Meadows. The reason why I'm here today is Dan kind of invited me here. Just to give you, background of who I am. I became a football coach in the Bronx for a league called Bronx Warriors. Okay. I fell in love with coaching, not because of winning or losing. It's because there was this one kid, and I'll say his name. His name was Ernie Beam. This one kid who was in the group. He was acting out, not listening during practice. But there was this one time where I said, come on, you know what? Instead of yelling at him, making him do push-ups or making him run a lap, I said, let's run a lap together. We ran a lap together. We had a conversation. He said, hey, my dad ran out on me when I was 2 years old, 3 years old. No one loves me. I said, that's not true. Your mom loves you. She takes time. You have an autistic brother. She takes time to distract you. This is why she puts you into sports, to distract you from all of that and so that you can find yourself. I love you. I didn't grow up with a father either. But my mom was my mom and my dad. This kid had so much problems mentally. Like, he was just had no sense of self-security or anything like that. He was so insecure. But after that conversation, you grow up, you see him now. He's beaming with personality. And he's a wonderful kid. When I saw that I changed that kid's life in that one moment, and I've changed other kids' life. I've taught kids never to quit. I took a team that during the season, they only had one win, but because it was a small league, there was 3 teams, we made it to the playoffs, we beat a team in the playoffs, and then we beat the undefeated team. My motto to those kids was always, winners never quit, quitters never win. And I'm looking at this, I'm coming here today, and I believe in preserving history, if you're still here.
He's gone.
He left, okay. I believe in preserving history because history teaches you lessons. What does history teach us about kids? When kids are bored, they're gonna do dumb things. I know I did. I grew up in the Bronx. I did some dumb things, nothing major, nothing really criminal, right? But I've done some dumb things as a kid. Almost got thrown off a roof for throwing water balloons. But this is what happens when kids are bored and they don't have an outlet. And so if you're gonna sit here and say, hey, we have to preserve history, so then let's learn from history, okay? Let's learn from the history that kids just do dumb things like vandalizing, right? Someone brought up vandalizing. Well, that's what it is. Now, when I look at the budget, and you have for basketball $30,000 and $25,000 for a dog park, are my kids $5,000 more important than a dog? You got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Not only do kids do dumb things, but it also leads to depression and suicide rates because of COVID-19, right? This is a COVID-19 relief bill fund. When kids are bored and they're home, they're not doing anything, they're not interacting with other kids, they become depressed. They commit suicide. And this is what we saw during the lockdowns. So what are we doing here talking about $25,000 towards a dog park and not putting more of that into water and the kids? Now, she brought up revenue. What's bringing, playgrounds don't bring revenue to the town. Maybe that's true. But let's invest in more sports. My idea, I brought it up to Sandy, right? The league that I coached in, the league that I was part of the board, for 70 years, they were an intramural league, meaning they didn't travel. As a parent of 4 boys, 2 that are active in sports right now, I would have to sit for football, I would have to send my 7-year-old to flag while my 10-year-old is traveling. So I'm gonna be missing my 7-year-old's game so I could be at my 10-year-old's game. So why don't we invest some of that money into creating an intramural league? Because you know what, according to Yahoo Finance, okay, I have it here. Youth sports is valued at around $37.5 billion. So if we created something where, hey, we're creating activities for kids, and we bring kids here, and we not only that, not only are we giving them a sport, but maybe we can get them scholarships and things like that to colleges, to private schools, getting them better educations and more opportunities. That's a win. Because now we're bringing other people now and play here. You want to know why that it'll be a value? Because parents can just come here. It's a Saturday or a Sunday. I know what I'm doing all day. I'm at the football field all day watching my kids play football. I don't have to go. I'm not running, like a chicken with no head, going from one game to the other. And that's what I bring.
Thank you.
Gary Veter, Salt Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. Getting back to the agenda, I would like to, at least we got some mention on COVID money. Sorry it took 18 months to really start thinking about it publicly. I assume that might go with the time of year it is around here. Very good presentation on the Purple Heart Memorial, thank you. I would strongly suggest that become a part of the memorial part more than the mill site part. I think that's a more fitting location. Bower Park. Last meeting I had a presentation, listened to a presentation on the property that was generously given to us. And I have spent some time going back and forth down there when there's crowds, etc. Somewhere along the way, we had, I don't know the engineer's name, CSL or whoever, had a presentation, and I think one of the strongest things that he gave us was the fact that a very misused and underused parking lot. I think that should be step number one. Make the parking lot big enough and marked to hold his thing was 44 cars, I do believe. Why I think that is strong, because the other entrance off of North Avenue, and everybody said it's a fine entrance until you really drive down there and look at it, but if it meets the standards, it's good, whether it is or not. Think about two particular neighbors in that area that have homes. Would you want cars coming past your home? One of them, it would be within a few feet of it. And the other one, the big, large historic colonial house would cut through there too. I know it's only two people, but would you want to be one of those two people? I think that the current road is big enough if you don't use it for parking. The guy with the, I forgot his name, Co-File Services, gave a good presentation. And I think it is important that we preserve the older records because they do not last. To start with the old ones, they do not last. I know that from experience because I have prescription records home from the early 1800s. And they are becoming unreadable. That's what happens when you take over a pharmacy that's been in business since then. I think that covers it, but I would really like to say that think about the impact on other people in projects that you do, even if it's only a couple. They are our residents.
Thank you.
John Dunn, Netherwood Road, general pain in the neck. I'd like to congratulate the board for getting this ARPA money, and I think a lot of the credit should also go to our bookkeeper, Melanie. I would like to know, and I understand we didn't get it one single check, but I'd like to know why over the years we have not done anything with it. All right? Town hall, we're talking about the town hall, and the town hall has gone, for the original estimate, $4.5 million to $5.5 million. Now it's $8.5 million. Eventually, we're going to have to go into that town hall because, from what I understand, FEMA probably will not cover another flood here, and this, being in a floodplain, this building is costing us a lot in insurance, which we won't have up in that area. So far, we've had 2 or 3 engineering firms evaluate the building, and it looks to me like the only ones that really benefit from that building are the engineering firms. We have, I'm sorry, I get a little bit fed up with the whole thing here. I don't think that we are going to have any less expense finishing that town hall, the projected town hall, in the future. It's only going to go up from here, folks. And while I'm at it, I will say that I was approached by 2 people so far to ask why we're looking to put a $100,000 kitchen in the town hall. That, I believe, will increase not just the cost, but also, I believe we would have to
Point of
have-
order, John, the town hall is not on the agenda.
Well, the ARPA funds isn't, and that's where it should, part of it should be spent.
We're not using, we
right,
didn't
hold on,
allocate any
hold on.
money from ARPA for the town hall, so.
Yeah, I
Hold
know,
on.
I know, it was
No,
right.
it's not on the agenda,
Okay.
John.
Okay, then fine, let's talk about water. Okay, water, and, oh, the town hall, by the way, were the last 2 things on that list. And they seemed almost to be an afterthought.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they are.
All right,
I
so
do
we're not
pay-
going to
I do
argue
pay
back and
attention.
forth.
Okay,
It's time to
fine. You know,
speak.
I'm at the point where recreation is great. I have 2 daughters that grew up in this town that now teach, and so they're still involved with the children. But there are things that if we may have a great recreation program, but if it's in a town that's falling apart, that creates a bigger problem. I'm going to go away.
Thank you, Jen. We're not going to argue back and forth.
I-
No,
do you
I'm
mind-
sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not recognizing you to speak back and forth. This is the time for the people to speak, and that's it.
Well, I
don't
wanted to
wanna
ask
get
him
into
a
these
simple
tit for
question.
tats.
I wanted to ask him a simple question before he sits down,
Go ahead.
which will be helpful. After your daughters left your house, did they decide to live in Pleasant Valley?
One lives in Pleasant Valley and one lives in a condo in Poughkeepsie.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, they both are in the Arlington School District. One's a 2nd grade teacher and one's an 11th grade English teacher. So they are involved with the local kids. And I can remember when we were kids, I lived in a place a lot less rural than this. We had a lot less yard space and place to play. We came up with things to do. My mother wasn't out there saying, Johnny, you should go and play baseball. Kids left to their own devices should come up with things to do, but when they're constantly overshadowed by parents and other adults, that creates a problem. So
Thank you.
I'm going to go sit down.
I just want to remind everyone here, but this segment of the agenda, the board is to listen, okay? So you state your whatever you want to state, and it's on the agenda. This is the portion where you stick to the agenda items, and we listen. It's really not a debate. We're not going to come back and forth to debate you, and that's the way this is supposed to go. So I just want to remind everyone how this is supposed to work. I'm not telling them not to speak. I'm sure they all do, but that's not how this really works, okay? Please, next.
Thank you. Bev Doppel, Creek Road. A couple of things. I'm all for recreation, but this town has spent a lot of money on recreation in the last couple of years. But to look at the ARPA money and see that right off the top of the top, about $430,000 is going toward more recreation. Personally, I think we really need security in this town. I don't know if we can do it by hiring extra police, and I don't think maybe ARPA goes towards salaries. I don't think it does. But somewhere along the line, we've got to get some extra security in town. As you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the village, vandalism, all kinds of nonsense, and I think to protect our kids, we need to be secure when we send them out the door. As far as town water, yeah, we do need town water to improve the businesses, because the businesses, keep this town going. So, yeah, we need town water. And frankly, I would like to see some programs developed for teens. The recreation departments are specifically to age groups, I know. But the teens are a forgotten bunch, and they need to be given some kind of specific programs developed for them. What about the veterans? Can we do something for them? And the only other two things I have to say, I would like to see Katie Park given money to spruce it up before the dog parks. And second of all, I agree with Mr. Dunn, $100,000 for a damn kitchen is not necessary, especially when we can't do anything to rent out the town hall to recoup that money. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Aldridge, live in Margaret Court. A couple administrations ago, you had Mark Figliozzi. Whether you liked him or not, he went ahead and he did a lot of work on getting water ready to be brought into town, as well as moving this town hall out of harm's way and moving it up the road. Right there's an evidence of what happens when it floods. All your public records are in jeopardy. So that should speak for itself. As far as the water goes, in those plans that he presented, you won't have to eat up all the ARPA money if you go back and look at what he found. That if Con Ed is responsible for 2/3 of that cost, that's a huge chunk of money. Therefore, the ARPA money can go to smaller projects. You have Delaware Engineering, who is a water and sewer company, who was brought in, put the whole plan together. Everything was good to go, except Mark, unfortunately, lost the election. But if you call Delaware Engineering, those plans are still probably around and can be resurrected very easily. Take the time, look at it. If it's feasible, why not do it? Why not have the best of both worlds? Now, I understand the gentleman about Parks and Rec and all that. I've coached for 40 years. I know what kids need and what they don't need. Unfortunately, let's face it, the water in this town is not the best. When the mill was active, it did what everybody else did. It dumped chemicals into the ground. You've got certain businesses around, on occasion, when the health inspector comes around, they have to post warnings. A new business sees that, why are they going to want to come here? They're going to say, I can go to LaGrange who has central water. I can go to the town of Poughkeepsie who has central water. They're not going to come around here. You have to encourage that. You have to also encourage businesses that have shown their loyalty by staying here for 15, 20, 50 years, that you're committed to helping them survive. If we don't do that, it's going to dry up. You have the opportunity, do the research, take the time, and if it's still feasible, I don't see why we don't do it. And Sandy knows as well as I do, is your dog park, that's going to bring a lot of problems. You might want to stay away from that.
Anyone else? I move that we close the
Can
meeting.
I be recognized as a resident, please?
Go ahead.
All right. Just to kind of put some information out there that might be confusing some of why. Let's start with the ARPA funds. Just to get everybody in the loop, the last half of it came about a year ago. And there was also, it was a lot more restrictive. So you really couldn't use it on any of the stuff that anybody's proposing right now. And a final ruling came out where they expanded everything April 1st of 2022. To some of the folks' points tonight, I think this entire board, and correct me if I'm wrong, has really tried to be transparent, because that's been one of the arguments in the past, is that things are rushed. People go out and get petitions when things are rushed, and they force votes on things, and they vote it down. It doesn't happen. So this board has until the end of next year to properly put together projects, to properly be transparent, to properly include the residents. And now the same people that are complaining that previous boards or this board went way too fast and didn't include the residents in decisions are now standing or going online and yelling at the five of us for not being quick enough. So some of the residents' points tonight is, let's be honest with ourselves. Some people stand up here who stood up here in the same building back in 2006 and complained about their taxes going up $25. Okay? That's why Red Oak Park's not here. The voters voted it down. Okay? So we can sit here and point fingers all day. But I'm telling you right now, I know the other four people that sit on this board, and you're going to hear a bunch of stuff out there in the community. I'm telling you right now, most of it's not true. But the five of us are committed to work together to be transparent, to give you what you've been asking for, and the people who don't show up, I give you all credit. I might not agree with everything you say, but it's nice to see you here and to hear your opinion and to be a part of this. But Red Oak Park, it was voted down by the residents. They were complaining over $25 of a tax increase, and now people are here complaining that Red Oak Park's not done. Water's been voted down in this town. And water's not as simple as a thing that people think. Yes, it helps the businesses, but most residents in this town, if you tell them we're going to start charging you to give you water and your well's perfectly fine, that's the problem that they've been dealing with the water district, is getting the right situation where if I get free water out of my well, why would I vote in favor of creating a water district? These, I know, seem like very simple things to fix, but there's a lot of moving parts that the water committee is dealing with, that the town hall committee is dealing with. These aren't simple fixes. If they were, believe me, the five of us would get it done. I'll give you another example, Bower Park. We worked for the last year and a half to get that land donated to fix a problem that's been going on for a long time. I proposed one presentation at the last board meeting to be transparent, and immediately there's people standing at the podium shooting an idea down without asking a simple question or getting the facts straight. That's what we're up against. So I ask everybody that's here, everybody watching at home, anybody that's not watching at home, we need your support, because the five of us, we can come up with all these great ideas, but I'll tell you right now, as somebody who I hate politics, and I never saw myself sitting up here, but I've lived in this town my entire life. I'm 35 years old. I asked Mr. Dunn if his daughters still lived here. I didn't want to live in Pleasant Valley. Recreation's important. It invests in our community because somebody like me who's a parent is looking at LaGrange, is looking at other places, because I'd rather pay an extra $100 a year to actually be able to raise my kids, take them to the playground without things falling off of it, which is happening right now. So yes, I understand, I support businesses, I support all of that. I think the entire board, you couldn't find anybody that doesn't. But your kids, my hope is that they're gonna live here, and they're gonna buy a house in Pleasant Valley, and they're gonna stay here, and they're gonna spend money. That doesn't happen right now. I couldn't wait to get out of Pleasant Valley, and it never happened. So now it's my mission to make Pleasant Valley a place where our kids, your kids, will wanna stay here and raise their kids. So there's a lot of stuff that people just throw out there, and I'm just putting this all out there that please, get the facts, talk to us. I'll tell you right now, I get maybe 2 emails or 2 phone calls from residents a month. How am I supposed to do, or any of us do our jobs, when nobody's actually talking to us? Instead, we all come here and we yell about our ideas. I would love to work with every single one of you on these ideas. And that's what we need to do moving forward, because the water committee's not going to get anything done. The new town hall's not going to get anything done. We need to work together as a community. And it's been a long time coming, but you guys don't see that side of everything. Believe me, the 5 of us would want all this stuff done, but we need the support. We need the people that want these things to come out and support the projects, because they've been done before, and they never showed up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
If I could,
Go right ahead.
if I can just add to Mike's point, it has been proven time and time again that if the more money you put into your parks, the more home values in the town actually increase. Just someone made the mention earlier that the town, if the businesses were full in this town, the town would take in more tax revenue. Whether Acme Plaza rents out every space or not, we charge them the same amount of money. It doesn't matter to the town in that aspect of tax revenue. So.
Thank you. Anything else? I move that we close the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business discussions. 12A, give the town clerk permission to advertise for zoning board alternate position. We lost one of our alternates.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's just remember that that's a 2-year position.
2-year
Yeah,
position.
that's the odd one, that's
2 years.
2 years.
2-year post. 12B, update on Granicus minute and agenda software rollout. Mr. Reifenberg.
Yeah, so just to keep everybody in the loop, this was one of the things the board implemented to be more transparent, to digitize some of these records, and to get the residents involved. Basically, the last couple months have kind of stalled out on the Granicus side of things. Last week, over maybe the last month or so, I've been really putting pressure on them. They're going through a lot of changes, so I just wanted to update the board and the residents that we had a meeting last week. We were unhappy with the trainer that we were dealing with, so we're getting assigned a new one hopefully tomorrow. They said early this week, and they're also going to credit the town 3 months worth of payments that would go towards next year because of these delays. So we're good to go on the agenda side of it and all of that stuff, but the side that the residents interface with, we're waiting on that training to happen. So that should be happening sometime this month, and we should be live completely by July.
Are you feeling confident that they're going to fix their problems?
Yes, I've made it very clear over the last month that we're unhappy as a town. And, you know, there were talks of doing short-term rental stuff that you had talked to them at the Association of Towns. And they keep harassing me it's a different department.
Okay.
And I basically told them how disappointed we are and we don't want to talk until they figure it all out. So.
Next question. So you know some of the situations we have with our planning and zoning department. We can apply this over there, correct?
Yes, so I've been holding off on the planning and zoning side of things until we, on this side, work out all the kinks that we're having.
Okay.
But yeah, to that point, planning and zoning, once they get caught up and everything, the plan is to approach John and train Chris Ann and Courtney, and then that will speed up their agenda and minutes and all
Yep.
that.
Good. Okay, 12C, legislation regarding voters' identification process. I know it says me, but this is basically came down from the governor, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Where do we have business? What's the next one?
Town of Huntington.
That's it, okay. Dear Honorable Town Clerk Muir, I hope this finds you all well. On the 9th, I don't have to read this whole thing, do I? The reason I sponsored this resolution is that I approached by various constituents varying political affiliation about their concerns regarding the accuracy of voter rolls maintained by the Board of Elections. In an economy where the Board of Elections may not have the finding or the staffing regularly purge the voters' rolls of individuals who may have relocated or passed away. I believe New York State needs to address this matter in a way that builds the public's confidence and ensures a fair election process. By urging our state representatives to work in bipartisan manner to create voters' identification process, this will allow for fair and consistent procedure to keep voter rolls current and uphold the principles of democracy the United States was built on. So, yeah.
Could I just comment on, so reading the resolution that they've sent us, there's not any active legislation or even drafted legislation. It's just an idea and something that a town is urging the state to take up. So I don't think there's anything active for the town to take action on at this time.
No, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to maybe put together something, a statement stating
So-
that we agree or not.
Can I just, my wife works for the Board of Elections.
Right.
This is full of open-ended statements, let's just say it that way. The Board of Elections has the funding, and they do have the staff. I think that there's parts of this that I agree with. I'm not saying I don't, but it's a little too open-ended, and it kind of makes some broadly false statements. So I don't think that this is in our best interest. That's my 2 cents.
If I can add, the resolution that they passed, to Councilman Mazzella's point, make a lot of things that I guarantee you the 5 of us have no knowledge if it's factual or not. So if you were to propose something to the board, I would hope that we would strike out any of the claims. But I'd also urge that if somebody wants to sponsor a proclamation or a resolution to come before the board, that we would reach out to Hannah Black and Eric Height, the Republican and Democratic commissioners, and ask their opinion if we think that they're not holding up their end of the deal with their elections. So I'm sure they probably won't be on board with that.
All right, until we hear more, that's that. Bauer Park update, Councilman Reifenberg.
Yep, so at the last meeting, a little over 2 weeks ago, I put a presentation together just explaining the new land that we got donated from the Rettel family and some possibilities. Just to keep everybody in the loop of what we've kind of done in the last 2 weeks, is one of the things is the land wasn't that accessible to even have an engineer go out there and even see if we could potentially put an entryway in. Greg had been out, I don't know, maybe 5 months ago with Councilwoman Albrecht and myself, and we measured out the site distance, all that stuff for a possible entrance. He went and looked at the parking lot, but we cut a path in from North Avenue to Bauer Park. And the next step is you'll see a resolution tonight to hire a surveying company that's local to go out and just stake out the boundaries on the half of the property towards North Avenue. to one of the residents' points is that there is a house on the left and the right side of the property. One's very far away, the other one is much closer, not within feet, but, and up to this point, I've been diligently working with that resident and been out, walked the property with her. She has my phone number, we've had many conversations, and I've also walked the property with the supervisor. He's seen what the possibilities are out there. I think him and I agreed that there are potentially easy fixes in the areas that it could negatively affect that resident, which we would obviously work with them. So the first step is to get the boundary lines marked out to actually see where the property is. The next step, it would be then to go out with Greg, have him look at it, and put together just a very basic layout. If we were to put an entryway in there, what it would look like, where it would be. Is it even doable? Because it's kind of a moot point to continue this process. If he says no, we can't even do it. But we should probably know before making a project or any of that stuff. And then at that point, if he says it's something that he thinks we can do, then we'd have to pass resolutions and enter in a formal process of designating a capital fund for it, doing seeker. I'll bring all that stuff before the board. At that point as well, if we know it's something we can actually do, we'd obviously have serious conversations with both residents to figure out how we can work together to make that better. But anybody that walks out there, that's been out there on the board, I think you'll see the benefit of, yes, we're increasing the lot, and yes, that's going to make more parking spots, but if you go down that road, you cannot expand the road at a certain point, and there's no way 2 cars can pass. You have to stop. And you'd also continue to back up traffic onto North Avenue because it's only set back about 25 feet from the main road, the entryway. So again, this isn't a done deal. We're doing our due diligence, and this is just the very beginning. And we'll just cross each bridge as we get there. So does anybody from the board have any questions?
No, we walked it the other day.
We had a good,
and,
it was a good visit.
Fairly interesting. It was a very good visit to the site. My hope was originally when we first got this was that we were able to get another soccer field in, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be a possibility. We have to come up with something that would fit in that spot that you pointed out, which would be helpful to the town.
And
better for the town.
it's really nice. I mean,
No, it is.
It's a nice property. If we were to do the entryway there, it opens up that other side where it kind of opens there. There's a lot of possibility with that land. It's just, we have the money. We've assigned funds for it. It's just one step at a time, but I'll keep the board updated.
Thank you.
You've done a good job on that, Michael.
Okay. Allowing town groups, 12E, allowing town groups, Climate Smart and PVCG, which I'm believing is the community garden, right?
Yeah.
To meet at Town Hall.
Yes, so there's been some emails from the library. If you look at the stats, the library's hosting about 900 meetings a year. If you do it by the amount of time that they're actually open, that's just under 4 meetings per day. I was on the library board as a trustee before being on the town board, and when we did the studies to build the new library, the board identified that meeting space was dire here in Pleasant Valley, and that's why there's 3 meeting rooms there. The summer's very busy for them, so they've approached us or the town and asked if we would potentially, where right now we don't have the town hall open for any of our groups, if we would entertain starting with the Climate Smart business meetings and the Pleasant Valley Community Gardening business meetings, if they decided as groups they wanted to move here and not use the library. Obviously, we're not forcing anybody to come here, but if we as a board are okay starting with those 2 town groups, if we would entertain that.
Can I ask a question? Didn't we talk about this being that they're appointed by the town board, that they're allowed to meet here?
But that's kind of been the confusion, is that I think there needs to be something formal from us stating that we're okay with them meeting here.
So, when we closed off Town Hall, we closed it to non-town functioning organizations. They are part of the town. Like, I could, you know what I mean?
Need to tell them, yes, if you want the opportunity, and this is how you would enter the building and that kind of thing. I think,
Can I say something?
It's not that part of the meeting.
yeah.
We can come back later on. We're going to open up the meeting again to the public.
Michael, can you just clarify something that?
I think, yeah, I think I already did that, is that we're not forcing any of these
And I'm
groups
not
to.
asking either.
Yeah, the library is the one that approached the board about a month ago, and I've had phone calls from them.
I get it.
And I've spoken to them as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
this
they're
is
not
something-
forcing anybody out. They just want the option, if these groups would like to meet here, that the board is okay with that. So is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. I think what we do need to do is identify what would be a good time, because we are, at nighttime, this place is taken up, so we'd have to find some scheduling.
You never allow me to talk, it's so frustrating.
I know, but this is called keeping it together.
It's called keep.
So let's just keep it together, and you'll get up and say it.
I'm sitting there for the whole meeting to see it at the end.
We're almost there. We're almost there. All right?
May I say something?
Sure.
In the past, before COVID, everybody had a key, and that was a problem. Keys were a problem. Too many people had keys to the town hall, coming in here. Now, there aren't enough keys.
Right,
We don't have those keys. So that is a problem. How would the keys be monitored? Who has the key? Who is letting committees in and out? I know the Repair Cafe, when they're here, a lot of the times I'll come in on Saturday and I'll stay here while they're here so I can let them in and out. Mary has also helped doing that, but it is a problem with the keys. How are the keys going to be monitored, and do you want everyone to have access to the building? This is a big concern.
We may have.
Without,
We may have to change the lock on the front door because we don't even have those keys anymore, if I'm correct.
there's enough for right now, but there's not spares to give out to different organizations to come in and out on their meeting dates.
And we can't make
We-
those keys.
Right, those keys cannot be made up. They're specialty keys.
KD Locksmith was the guy who made all those keys and rekeyed all the doors. Just give him a call. He'll show up with his van.
He-
He'll make keys in the
okay.
parking lot.
Okay, he passed away.
Oh, no way, really?
Yes, so the template that was made on those keys no longer exists. So this has been a problem. So in order to change the locks, you have to get a locksmith in to change every single lock.
So let's work on our key situation first, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I don't know if Emily wants to step in on how many people are allotted to have the keys to the building.
Well, I mean, there's
don't-
not an answer to that, but it is
Yeah.
certainly a concern. I think the specific thing that was brought up tonight has already been addressed, that town organizations can use the town hall, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, the argument's been made is that they've always been allowed to use it, and now we're talking about, well, who's going to let them, I mean, that's kind of the confusion, I think, that's going around.
It's a matter of the availability
Yeah.
of the room, it's a
Yeah.
matter of getting them in here, the keys and all that, and it's,
And I don't know if either group even want to come here. So I'm just saying is that they're wondering if we could offer to them that we could make this space available
Right.
to them. They
So-
might not even come.
They might not even come, at the same time, they may. And at the same time, there's other groups that are town groups as well, so we have to open that to them as well. We have the recreation committee. I
They
don't know
meet,
where
they meet at Hello Owners, right?
Well, whatever, I mean, there's different kinds of groups that also might be part of the whole equation. So let's work on the key
Work on
issue
this next
first
week.
and see what that comes out to be.
that sounds right.
Requesting bids for computer hardware and software, which we definitely must do, right?
Yeah, this is one of the items we recommended ARPA funds for, but go ahead, Emily.
So is that-
Well,
ahead.
so we got a proposal from the company that the town uses that included both the professional services, but also the hardware and software. And the hardware and software is a large enough sum that it needs to go out to bid for the state procurement requirements. So this RFP is for that package of hardware and software that was recommended. with the idea that we would still use our regular consultant for the installation and service portion.
Makes it perfect.
And I think you have a resolution later to release it, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And that brings us to our new business resolutions. First resolution, Town Board Resolution 600, 2023, accept recreation fee for the Methodist Church subdivision.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 601, 2023, amending the 2023 general fund budget and authorizing survey of Bower Park.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 602, 2023, appointment of 2023 Town of Pleasant Valley Summer Camp staff.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 603, 2023, authorizing release of request for bids for the computer and hardware.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All business discussions. Policy pertaining to ownership of town data and surveillance video by town board.
This was the change, wasn't this the change that happened?
Yeah, isn't this a Brook thing?
This is the Brook thing.
Do we want to bring her back? in?
Well, I think we gotta talk about it. Don't we gotta talk about it in executive session too? So let's,
Yeah,
I'll make a
should-
motion, we
should
just
really
table
Move
this.
this to table to executive
Yeah,
session.
I'll make a motion, we table this till
We won't
executive
be
session.
taking any
Second.
action. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Table. ARPA money, we've had the discussion to some degree,
Yep.
right? New signs at the mill site, Mr. Reichenberg?
All right, so you all should have a copy of proposed signage for the mill site. There's two different signs. One is kind of taking all the signs that are over there now, putting it into one for park rules. The other sign is basically pointing out the fact that we have security cameras now and that we're going to prosecute. That language came directly from the attorneys. And then the second page, there's some examples. You'll see one, the red sign, the security camera sign. The plan is to put one back towards the pump house. The other part of the plan is when you're looking at the memorial and mill site, the farthest left entrance towards the memorial, as you're walking back, there's a stone wall there. The plan is to put both signs nicely, professionally done on there. And then you'll see the second picture here. There would be the two signs on the columns, which would cover if somebody comes in that direction. And then the sign over by the McDonald's parking lot, that would be taken down. They would put nice black coated pieces of metal, I guess. That would be the base for it, and they would put the signs
Okay.
on there. And then we have a quote from them. It's like $1,300 without tax to do everything, install it. The only thing is we would go out and take the old signs down to save a little bit of money.
Okay. We can
But
certainly do that.
I guess the question for the board is they proposed two different designs. One's a green background with gold, one's a red background with white. I mean, I don't know if you like it this way. The whole idea for proposing those was to pick one or the other, so they all matched.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I
think
kind of
the
need to
green
get
with
back
the-
to.
I like the green
Green with
better.
the beige.
I like the green because it kind of matches what we're naming our parks. How Park is,
Yeah,
is green
match
and
the
gold,
sign.
right?
Yeah.
I think the green and gold has a. Yep.
Plus, I
Okay.
think the other color gets a little lost in the brick.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, like, we can go down that road, but I
Yep.
think the green is the way to go.
All right, so I have later on a resolution to get that going.
Excellent. Thank you. public hearing signs.
Man, I got, so I'm happy to see this here. This was something that I wanted to see changed in the town, and Emily's done a great job, so I'll let you speak to it.
Sure. So in some communities, as Councilman Reifenberg pointed out, the town requires that when there's a public hearing for planning board issues, site plan, special use permit, subdivision, and also for zoning changes or variances, that in order to help make sure people know about the public hearing, because they may not see it in the legal notices, who really reads legal notices, right? So another way of getting the word out is to actually put a sign on the property so people that are driving by would see it. So that's what this law does. It just adds a paragraph to the code in each of those sections that I just mentioned, and says that in addition to the other forms of notice, like putting it in the paper and sending out a notice to neighbors, that applicants would also be required to post a sign on the property. I ran this by the attorney to the planning board and ZBA, and he agreed with it. He gave me a little feedback, which I incorporated, and it is here for your consideration.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to old business resolutions. 15A, approving authorizing the new signs at the mill site that was just spoken of.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a resolution commencing the local law adoption process for proposed local law of 2023 entitled A Local Law Amending Chapters 82 and 98 to require public hearing signs.
I'll make a motion to amend the resolution, because we need to fill in a date. Is our next meeting the 19th?
No, the 21st.
Oh, the
That's-
21st.
Little
Juneteenth
note,
is the
folks,
19th.
we have to move our next meeting to the 21st, which is a Wednesday night, because it's a holiday on the 19th.
Okay, so I make a motion to amend the resolution to have the public hearing be held on June 21st.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's the first one?
The Bodnar.
Oh, yeah.
Bodnar is a continuation, public hearing
Yeah,
on
it's
that
fine.
night.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Okay.
And I'll make a motion to accept the amended resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 606, 2023, amending the provisions of the Town of Pleasant Valley Employee Handbook.
Hold on one sec. I'll make a motion to allow this items of special consideration onto the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And goes with that. Done.
I'll make a motion to allow a discussion about the zoning administrator on the agenda.
Second.
Do we do that?
Should we do that in executive session though, maybe?
I think we should push that to the, I think the discussion was to advertise. That's why we have to advertise
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
let's,
zoning.
Never
I'll
mind.
make a motion that we allow Mary Beth to advertise.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I make a motion that we open the meeting to the public once again for new business.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Sandra Larkin.
Sandra Larkin, Davis Road, Swamp Point. There's was a whole miscommunication here, and that's what I was trying to say. We don't want to come to the town hall. We didn't ask to come to the town hall because it is very complicated when it comes to keys, when it comes to scheduling. We were very happy at the library. The library may have gotten upset with other groups, not specifically Climate Smart, who take the bigger room, and that's when we were kind of tagged onto that. But I talked to Daniela after our last meeting at the library, which was after Michael spoke to Daniela. And I said, "You want us out of here?" And she said, "No." Who said that? I said, "Well, I heard you wanted us out of here." She goes, "No, you use the smaller room. You don't, pre-book in months in advance. I do it every month to give everybody else a chance to take that room. And as far as I know, we're fine there, and we don't want to be here." because of all the complications, like, you know, the keys, and I don't want the responsibility of the key at all. So that's why, I was just trying to clarify that.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I don't know what Daniela, you know, what's going on with her. I will speak to her again. If she needs to send you guys something to say that we can stay there, I will be happy to ask her to do that.
Okay. When do you usually meet, just real quickly? I know I've attended one or two, but when is
We
it
don't
usually?
have a set schedule.
You don't have a set schedule, okay.
Based upon other people's schedule, I try to fit it in. Like you, I just realized this meeting in Town Hall, we usually don't meet when you guys have the 21st. That is our next meeting,
That's
actually.
your next meeting, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Jean Curley again. Ditto what she said about the PVCG. We meet on Thursdays. We have all of our meetings scheduled for Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month. And we now, because we have so few people coming to the community garden meetings, we need more volunteers. We had 40 to 50 initially. Now we're down to about 10. We can meet in the other room.
And don't get discouraged by that, because I will promise you.
I
that
am not
That
discouraged.
happens to every committee. all the
I am
time.
not discouraged.
All right, good.
You know me.
Yeah, it starts off like gangbusters, and then you get the people that really work.
Thank you.
Right, when it comes time to actually do the work, they leave.
Brian Aldridge, Margaret Court, Pleasant Valley. Want to discuss something about public safety. You have 3 schools inside of the borders of Pleasant Valley. 2 of them are on county roads, so they're dictated by what the county sees. The third one, though, is Traver Road Elementary, which is on Traver Road, and that's a town road. We all know the characteristics of that road. My daughters went to Traver Road, and especially coming down around that turn, they come flying. Over the years, things have been let go, and now it's to the point I actually almost had a head-on going the other way, somebody coming down in the wrong lane. One way to solve this is to turn that into a school zone. And I've done several of these. I work for the LaGrange Highway Department. I've been involved with them, so it's easy enough to do. The biggest thing is just putting the request into Albany for the speed limit reduction. The next step is to upgrade all the signs on that road. Everything that's on the road now doesn't conform to today's standards. Everything is now reflective. The best material that you can use for it is, 3M is the manufacturer. They're the only ones who make it. It's called Diamond Grade Cubed Fluorescent Yellow. It's that bright yellow stuff you see along the roads now. It stands out in daylight at night. That's the simplest way to do it. You rezone it, drop the speed limit down to 20 miles an hour between, say, 7:30 and 6 o'clock at night during school days. Or you can really go up one step and buy a couple of LED blinking signs that grab everybody's attention. Everybody knows Route 55 and North and South Cross Roads. For years, it was a death trap. Over the years, the state came to us. They went to Mike Kelly, my boss. We came up with a solution. We were one of the first ones who put the blinking signs in. Now those signs have been in place. The same thing could be done there. Fortunately, there hasn't been an accident, but why continue to wait and roll the dice and hope that it doesn't happen? Rather be proactive than reactive. If you have any questions, I'll be free to discuss it with you, give you ideas on how to go about it, and get this done. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you just repeat where those signs are? So
The
ones you were just talking about.
North and South Cross Road on Route 55, and we have probably 6 or 7 other spots where we have similar signs of different, for different reasons.
Dan Deegan, Oxford Road. No ranting this time.
I was like, Dan, you're not going to yell at us again, are you?
No, sir. We were on the same team. Councilman O'Hanlon, you and I spoke at Memorial Day. I just wanted to thank you. You reminded me what Memorial Day is all about, to you as a veteran and to all the other veterans, and I just wanted to thank you publicly for that.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, I won't forget what you told me. It meant a lot.
I hope not.
Yeah. Just looking at the calendar, I wasn't planning, but I happened to see this. So the next meeting is on June 19th?
21st.
Is that because of the holiday?
Yeah.
job.
No, we did it a long time ago.
Sandy Washburn, live in Salt Point. I don't get to many meetings. I'm usually at a ton of other meetings, so twice at the mic in one meeting is pretty rare for me. But I do want to I'm not here campaigning for a single thing. So I just want to say two things. One, thank you so much to Mary Beth, our town clerk, for that designation of Purple Heart community, and to Keith, veteran. I know what that certainly means to you. I'm a military mom. I know there's a few other military moms in the room, and I know what that means to have that sign. There's so few communities in Dutchess County and in New York State, and what an honor for our community to be a Purple Heart community. So thank you to everything that went into that. And Michael, couldn't agree with you more on every single word you said before and addressing the audience in the way that you did. That park was voted down. I remember so many years ago, the committees that were put together for the original Rettle Park. I remember standing in this room so many administrations ago with surveys and what did we want there, and Johnny's shaking his head because you know exactly what we're talking about.
I know.
And we all talked about what this community needed, and the votes went out, and our kids were so little, and every single word you said is true. And new families have come and gone and have said the same things that we said when our kids were 4 and 6 and 15, and now they're 35, and we have grandkids, and every word you said was true. So thank you for saying it, and I hope some people heard it because you spoke truth, and I respect you for it, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Veter, Salt Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. I've heard everybody here saying get the public to the meetings. Michael, if you're going to chastise the people that come up here and speak and complain about what they say, I don't think you should expect people to show up and give honest opinions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Lopez again. This is my first, hopefully of many times that I come to these meetings. Michael, thank you for bringing, giving some clarity on certain issues, for doing your best, councilmen and women, for being transparent. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. That was it?
That was it.
I was waiting for a long one.
Don't complain, boss. Almost servants.
Anyone else? Not seeing or hearing any, I move we close the meeting to the public.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for personnel 105.1F.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bathroom Make a motion, we come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. No decisions were made, no actions, nothing was taken. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.